Okay, well, sounds good. Can you see my screen? Yes, okay. And there we go. Okay, well, I'm Christian Many, and as Larry mentioned, I was promoted to the Director of Conservation Ranching at Montana Audubon. Before that, for the last year, I was the Conservation Ranching Manager. So we actually created our own department at Montana Audubon, which is really exciting due to the momentum that's occurring with the conservation ranching program. And it's kind of an interesting program here in Montana. It's unique because, as you all know, Montana Audubon is its own entity separate from National Audubon. However, this initiative is a National Audubon-led initiative, the Conservation Ranching Program. And so it's kind of cool in that way because we've got a little independence, but we have a lot of support from National Audubon. And we are the only state at this point where a separate entity is working to deliver this program apart from National Audubon. So the program actually occurs in 15 states, and these are Western states. And the reason that is that the last best grassland is left, or that occurs is in the West on these large, expansive landscapes where these large ranches operate. And so it's a growing program, and these numbers are probably slightly outdated, but we're taking on quite a few acres. At this point, it was 3.5+ million acres. And so that's across 15 states, like I said, and you can kind of see the geographic scope of things all the way out to California. Reason impetus for this program is that out of any of the suites of birds, grassland birds have seen the steepest decline in population since the 1970s. And so this is over 50% decline in grassland birds. This came from a recent paper in 2019. It was published in Nature from a very credible source. And you've also probably heard, the unfortunate news that 3 billion birds, in North America have been lost from what was the population in 1970, but in the 70s. But the grassland birds have seen the steep declines. And so to respond to that, we started the National Audubon started the Audubon Conservation Ranching Program, which actually took hold in Missouri, where Chris Wilson now lives, the director. But the good news for us here in Montana is that in relation to the rest of North America, really, Montana is one of the last best places for grassland birds. We have a lot of intact grassland, and that's due in large part to our ranching economy. Whereas the Midwest saw a lot of cropland conversion, out here on the ranches of Montana, we still have a lot of grassland intact. And so it provides habitat for this list of birds here on the left-hand side of the screen, which are all native grassland birds. So there's great opportunity here in Montana. So the purpose of the program is to stabilize declining grassland bird populations in partnership with private land stewards. And across the West, the land stewards come in the form of cattle ranchers. And so the approach here from the Conservation Ranching Program is to enroll and enroll America's ranchers into implementing the program. And so we're able, through the certification we provide a certification, which comes with this green label seal you see in the right-hand corner. And it's a market-based approach to conservation where Audubon is sort of offering, if these ranchers qualify for this great land stewardship, we can tell their story to consumers. And then this empowers consumers to promote land stewardship and bird habitat through their purchasing power. And so they can put their money toward bird conservation. And it's a pretty unique approach. There was a stigma for a long time that ranching was not good for ecosystems, the earth. But it actually turns out that cattle, kind of take the place and mimic bison and create a very healthy grassland ecosystem. Grasslands need grazers, and I'll go into that a little bit more. But now I just want to, overall, I want to talk to you guys about how the program works, and then look at the benefits to ranchers and birds. What can we actually provide them for them doing that work, to do the good work on their ranches and to enroll in our program. So the path to bird-friendly certification is generally this. The ranchers either find us and they show interest, or we tend to find them and we look for ranchers that have just good land stewardship. So that's part of my job, is kind of trying to find these ranchers that would qualify, and then asking them if they'd like to enroll in the program or if they think it would be beneficial. If they choose to enroll, there's a few fundamental things that each ranch has to practice. And one is that the cattle on the ranch need to be grass finished, which means they're not going to the mega feedlots down in the Midwest or the South Central United States and fed on corn. Instead, that they're ready to go to the processor in the slaughterhouse from the ranch, and they've been finished primarily on grass. Another fundamental qualifier is that the rancher doesn't use antibiotics on the cattle. So they can use it therapeutically. If there is a sick cow, they can certainly use antibiotics, but they have to withdraw that cow from the program. And then third, no further conversion of grassland to cropland. So if they've got grass on their ranch and they enroll in the program, the idea is that they don't convert any more land, and we conserve that good grassland for cattle and bird habitat. So the next step is, and a large part of my job is developing a habitat management plan for each ranch, which takes about 3 months. And the habitat management plan, it summarizes and describes goals and objectives that will help bird habitat on the ranch. And I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. Next comes, once I submit, or Montana Audubon submits the habitat management plan, we submit it to a third-party auditor, the Food Alliance out of Portland, Oregon. And they take a look at that, and if everything looks good, then they schedule an audit out at the ranch, and they actually send an auditor out to make sure that the rancher is doing those things that they outline in the habitat management plan. And after that, if all is well, the rancher, actually the land on the ranch itself becomes certified as bird-friendly land. And subsequently, Montana Audubon, and same with National, we do bird monitoring on the ranch the first 3 years, and then every 3 years after that. And that's just to look at how the bird communities are responding to the practices over time and those goals and objectives outlined in the habitat management plan. So that's kind of how certification works. And then the benefits of enrollment are, it's an inexpensive certification as compared to, say, becoming certified organic. At this point, National Audubon is paying for the audits, and Montana Audubon, as well as the bird monitoring, along with Montana Audubon. The habitat management plan ideally will provide a healthier, more productive ranch, and I'll talk about that in a minute. We provide bird monitoring, so each rancher gets an inventory of the bird populations, sort of diversity, a little bit abundance measurement, inventory on their ranch. And so that can be useful. Some of them are just interested in that, and that can be useful for things like ecotourism. There's a marketing and market development aspect. So National Audubon actually has a marketing team, and we also help, Montana Audubon also helps try to connect these ranches with suitable markets. We've been able to drum up some grant funding for ranch projects, and we can provide, often through those grants, we also can provide, sometimes provide workshops and technical development. So I'll expound a little on each of these if I didn't already. We write a habitat management plan for each ranch, and ideally this improves ecosystem health and ranch productivity, which serves to and tends to fatten up cattle, or at least that's the idea, that there's more grass, better forage availability, healthier soil. And the habitat management plan also serves to sort of identify and outline projects that might be suitable for grant funding. So certain infrastructure projects, which I'll talk about more in a minute. So the HMP, one of the things we like to focus on is grassland needs grazers. And so in this day and age on the Northern Great Plains, cattle take the place of bison. And so if you use your cattle and move them in such a way that is similar or mimics a bison herd, where there's a lot of cattle and they hit an area intensively where they graze intensively, and then they move on quickly and the pasture is rested for a long period of time, it mimics bison and creates a very healthy grassland. And it also creates a heterogeneity of grass structure that is really suitable and good for these grassland birds that evolved with bison. So you'll see this little figure in the right-hand corner, and you look at a couple different native species, and you'll see that some of them prefer denser grass, some of them more moderate, some more sparse grassland, and some use different heights and densities of grass at different life stages. Here's another cool figure that shows how regenerative grazing kind of works, where on the left-hand side, we have sort of a somewhat traditional, if you will, continuous grazing system where cattle are just left to range across the grassland without resting the grass. And what happens there is the cattle basically selectively graze all of the good grass, and it lets the noxious weeds and undesirable plants take hold, and they tend to dominate the grassland. But as you go from left to right here, on the other side of the figure, we see where there's intensive grazing with more cattle, and for a very short period of time with a very long rest period for each pasture. And that tends to allow the native grasses to compete with the noxious weeds and outcompete them in a lot of cases. It creates a lot of foot impact. It also fertilizes the ground through the cow manure and urine, and it improves microbial life, soil health, water retention, plant productivity, and biodiversity. So it's a much healthier system. And again, it's very similar to what bison would do on a natural grassland. Another benefit is the monitoring aspect, which I talked about. We do bird monitoring year 1 through 3, and then every 3 years after that on each enrolled ranch. Gives each rancher an inventory of the bird species diversity. We also do a vegetation survey at each point where we survey, and we've been planning, or National Audubon is kind of driving to do more soil monitoring. So we haven't gotten there yet, but it's in the works. The bird monitoring does allow National to create what's called a bird friendliness index for each ranch. And that is used to compare that ranch to other ranches in the area. And we're able to do that through data from the IMBCR program, which is this Rocky Mountain-wide bird monitoring program, at least here in the Rockies, where National can actually make a bird friendliness index for all private ranches that are within the boundaries of the IMBCR program, and then we can compare our Audubon ranches to other ranches. Ideally, your BFI goes up over time. So market benefits, the trend in the market is that more people are looking for grass-fed, no antibiotic beef products, especially since COVID-19 in 2020. Let's see, here's just a few statistics. 1 in 3 look for meat that is better for the planet, led by local and grass-fed. And 1 in 3 are looking for verification, essentially claims-based labels, of which the Audubon label is one. And so basically the market trend is consumers are looking for healthier, more earth-friendly beef products. And I think that can really identify with Audubon certified beef products, because a lot of people, there's great name recognition for Audubon, and people really connect with birds. And I'm preaching to the choir here. So yes, so strong name recognition. The seal tells the story of good land stewardship. There's the National Audubon marketing team supports marketing the brand. We have a local marketing partner, Abundant Montana, out of Livingston, Montana, and they've started featuring. We've actually paid them a little bit for each ranch, $50 a ranch, just so that Abundant Montana will advertise Audubon bird-friendly ranches on their website. We have many partners, and we're trying to develop more. We're looking to develop markets. Maybe Torrington Online Livestock Auction is starting to pick up Audubon calves as in their all-natural line. There's this organization called Other Half Processing, and they sell hides to Timberland, all natural leather line for boots and coats and things like that. And so we're trying to make those kind of connections. There's also a meat stick out of Big Timber right now that a entity is developing, and the owner of that group wants to use Audubon certified beef for her meat stick. So we're trying to make those kind of connections, and I think that's a benefit for ranchers. There's a couple ACR certified brands, ACR being Audubon Conservation Ranching. There's large national subscribers. So Panorama Organic and Thousand Hills are two large markets, and they have partnerships with National Audubon to sell that all of their beef products are Audubon certified. And so we've got 3 Panorama Organic ranches that are really large, 15,000 acre plus ranches here in Montana that are bird friendly, and they sell to Panorama Organic. And then we've got a few more, I think up to 3 to 5 more ranches coming on, because they sell to Thousand Hills. And those are big brands that I think end up in stores like Whole Foods and things like that. But by and large, most of our ranchers are still have a regional market, and they sell direct to consumers and regionally. And that includes groups like Cowgirl Meats out of Big Timber and Cooley Creek Ranch out of Lavina, Montana. We've got Great Alone Cattle Company out of Two Dot, Montana, and Barney Creek Livestock out of the Paradise Valley. Lohoff grass finished is out in the eastern Montana. So these are local, regional, direct to market brands that are all bird friendly certified. I will say overall right now we have 10 certified ranches in Montana, and I'm working currently writing habitat management plans for 5 more ranches to come on board this year. And right now our acreage is at 110,000 that plus certified acres. And with the addition of the 5 new ranches this year, it'll be around 33,000 plus more acres into the program. So we're growing, doing the best we can. Like I said, the habitat management plan often gets us very familiar with the ranch and their objectives, and we build relationships. And we've been able to further support ranches through grants. Last December, Montana Audubon received a NIFWIF grant, and it was rather sizable for us. And so since then, these are for ranch infrastructure projects. And we're working on delivering funds for some native reseeding projects, water delivery systems, including these pictures here, which is a stock water pipeline on a ranch near Roundup, Montana. We've been looking at delivering some beaver dam analogs, which are kind of like low cost, low tech methods of creating a beaver dam like structure to hold water in the creeks on a ranch. We've been able to deliver some wildlife friendly fencing, and we're always looking through these water delivery systems and the fencing to increase rotational regenerative grazing on the ranches to improve that mosaic of grassland habitat that is good for grassland birds. And yeah, we've been able to deliver some workshops and technical development through grant funding as well. And so far that's been in the form of helping pay for ranching for profit workshops. And I think we've paid for maybe just one right now, but we're looking to pay for more. And this is a group that's been working for a very long time. They're very well known and respected in the ranching community, and they come and the participants really crunch the numbers and look at their margins on the ranch, and they look at how they can cut certain things out of the business essentially, or add things that will help them. And it actually ends up being sort of reductionist. They find that there's some things that they're doing that probably aren't worth their time and money, but it's pretty interesting, and it really walks them through the process and starts to help them think like business owners, not just rancher, doing the day-to-day cattle ranching.